live webinar by Philantropia about why you should invest in fundraising and how you can sell this idea to your board. I'm really excited to talk to you today, and I hope this is all working and you can hear and see me clearly. So if you can, maybe you can just let me know. I'm getting the first message already that there's a disturbance in the sound. I will see if I can switch things around a little bit. I don't know, is it better now? Because I disconnected my camera one time and it's frozen now. Can you let me know if the audio is better now or is it the same? I'm not really sure where the issue is, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Maybe you could just let me know if it's better now, if you can hear me clearly, or if there's any disturbance in the sound. You can just type in the comment box, or just let me know if you can hear me, if you were able to join, if you can see me. Please just let me know. It's not enough audio. Okay. I don't really know what the issue might be because I haven't changed anything. But yeah, it looks like I will try to see if I can just completely disconnect my webcam. Maybe it will work from my computer only. So is it better now? Can you hear me more clearly now? I'm very sorry for this. This always happens when we're trying to use the live service, because okay, so someone is saying now it's better. Great. So I just have to see if I can change back to my other webcam. Let's see if this is working. This should work. It's not as clear, the webcam is not as good on my computer as is the external one, but for some reason the mic doesn't work. So now the picture is a little bit blurry, but at least you can hear me, I guess. Okay, so it seems to be okay now, so we can start. Thank you very much for joining this webinar about why you should invest in fundraising and how you can sell this idea to your board. So my name is Eva Wieners. I'm from Germany, and I have worked basically for the last 10 years in fundraising in Asia, South America, and Europe. I'm now based in Germany, but I lived for the last 7 years in Nepal, and I've been working with Philantropia for quite some time now. I've fundraised for all kinds of different organizations in Nepal and South America, all sizes, and yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you today about this topic. Philantropia is a consulting firm, and we offer resources about proposal writing, fundraising, and we offer online courses about fundraising. Maybe that's how you found us. But that is how we're trying to share our knowledge about fundraising so that as many people as possible can benefit from it. So yeah, I think we can just get started. I've prepared a presentation, a PowerPoint that I will go through. If you have any questions, you can always type them in the comment box. I will get back to them at the end. And yeah, if you feel like I'm missing your question, maybe you could just repeat it at the end when we come to the Q&A session. And yeah, if you have any question about the topic of this presentation, of course, I will specifically make time for them. If you have questions in general about fundraising, you can also drop them, and I will see if I can get to all of them. So I would say we can just get started. So why should you invest in fundraising? So today is not my day with this computer, I'm sorry. Okay, why you should invest in fundraising and how can you sell this idea to your board is today's topic. So I've been working in this field for quite some time, and I have seen over and over that it's a big issue for organizations to spend money on fundraising, any kind of fundraising cost or expenses. They always say, whenever we approach someone and say, are you interested in training, they say, oh, we don't have budget for this, we don't want to spend money on this, we're using all our money on our projects. When we offer some specific tools that we also have, like we have a donor database that is very helpful for donor research, etc. But NGOs say, no, we don't have a budget for this. Or many times the project managers, the staff actually tells us, yes, we know that we need this, but our board doesn't give us the budget. They're not happy to pay for this, etc. So we thought to make a webinar specifically about this, because investing in education, investing in fundraising in your organization is very important to make it more successful in the long run. But you also need a strong case if you want to present this to your board, to your seniors, etc. So we thought we'll talk about this a little bit, help you to understand the reasons that they have, why they might reject your request, and help you understand the arguments you can actually use to convince them in the long term to maybe give you some funding, give you access to funding, etc. So why is it that so many NGOs regard fundraising as a cost and not as an investment? What do you think the reasons for this are? So one of the main reasons is the idea of keeping the overhead as low as possible. And many times fundraising cost, any fundraising expense you have is regarded as overhead. And there have been some issues with high overhead costs in organizations. I remember some scandals that were in the press where NGOs or bigger organizations, INGOs, had very high overhead. And it came out and people really didn't like it because they said, if we give a donation, we want that donation to go to the project. So why do you have so much overhead? Why do all the people that work in your offices in Europe, etc., earn so much money? Why do you spend on costs in your office, etc.? So there have been quite some scandals about this. So that led to a situation where many organizations just started to cut down on overhead and try to reach for a very low number, a very low percentage of overhead because it looks good on paper. If you are able to say on your website, if you donate to us, only 7% will go to overhead, then the donors are happy because they think, oh, then all of my money will go into projects. What they don't understand, and what some NGOs also have forgotten, is that those things that are overhead are actually needed, because you do need an accountant, you need offices, you need all this background infrastructure, you need fundraisers, and you need to be successful in fundraising to be actually able to function sustainably. So overhead of itself is nothing bad. To have a healthy percentage of overhead is important. Of course, you don't want to have 50% overhead cost because that will be too much. But just cutting it down wherever you can is also not a good way to make your organization more successful, because some of those things you need, and one of those things is fundraising, and is fundraising education, is fundraising tools, etc., that make your work so much easier and will actually benefit the organization in the long term. So that has been an issue, and that is something that you should definitely think and talk about. Then there's a lot of fear of losing staff after training. I've heard that many times as well. If we approach NGOs and say, could be, are you interested in training your employees? Are you interested in capacity development? Of course they are, but at the same time, there's also always this fear of losing stuff after training. The philanthropy sector in general, the NGO sector is a sector where there's a very high overturn rate. People leave their jobs many times, go somewhere else, and just change jobs a lot of times. So people, the board or the people who decide are scared that you will just if you get if you get a certification, if you get a course, etc., that you will just get up and leave and go somewhere else because now you have better chances, and they want to avoid that. But again, we will talk later about why that is not necessarily true, and why that is not a good argument for denying people the chance to develop themselves and to learn new things. And then many of these organizations look at fundraising expenses only as a cost or something that is lost once it's spent. But that's also a grave mistake, because you should look at fundraising expenses as an investment and look at that in terms of return on investment and in business terms, instead of just looking at the first amount of money that you have to pay if you want to take a course, the amount of money it costs if you buy access to a donor database, the amount of money it costs if you have to hire a consultant, etc. All of these things have a return on investment, and in fundraising that return on investment is actually amazing if it works. So if you look at it that way, then it doesn't look so bad anymore. But those are the main reasons that NGOs and specifically boards and seniors don't want to spend on fundraising, because they want to keep they want to keep their overhead as low as possible. They don't want to educate their staff sometimes because they're scared they will just go somewhere else where their chances are better. And yeah, they think of it as a cost instead of looking at the chances that investment in fundraising actually holds. This has become especially important now in times of Corona. So in these times, funds are very scarce. No, money is tight for everyone, and this is not only in NGOs; it's in foundations as well. Interest rates are down, etc. It's a difficult situation for everybody. So in many organizations, the first thing that got frozen was expenses on capacity development, fundraising, stuff like that. But I think that's actually a grave mistake, because particularly now, so many organizations realize that they have to start fundraising, they have to enter this field. So especially now, organizations should be willing to go that extra mile and be specifically well prepared for the coming fundraising challenges, because it will get more difficult, not only because money is tight, but also because more organizations will enter this field. Some organizations that had support from wealthy individuals, that had support from some companies, etc., they will all have to start fundraising now, because that support will fade if those individuals get into trouble, if the corona situation actually hurt those businesses, etc. So the market will get more crowded. So now is actually not the time to freeze everything and not do anything, but now is the time to position yourself and your organization to be able to actually proactively go into the future and do good work to convince donors to actually support your projects and your work. So instead of not doing anything and trying to save money wherever possible, now is the time to also make smart investments, because you will need that in the future as an organization. So what does investment in fundraising actually mean? What are we talking about here? So there's all different kinds of ways to invest in fundraising and to make it better. But of course, the first one is to actually have staff for fundraising. I know many of you work for very small organizations where there's not a lot of staff that is particularly hired to do fundraising. Maybe you're a project manager that has to do fundraising on the side. Maybe you want to start your own initiative and need money, and that's why you've joined us here. But having someone who is paid to fundraise for you is, of course, an investment, but it's also something that will better your fundraising in the long run. So that's the first thing, or the first point where they have to make investments. Then you can buy access to databases that will really help you in your donor research. So, like I said, we have a donor database that we also sell access to. There's many foundations that you can search by search terms, country, focus area, etc. So that will save you a lot of time in your donor research. There's others who do the same, like the Foundation Center has one. Other websites also have these databases that will really help you to do better donor research, be more effective, use your time more productively, etc. So this is an investment that also makes a lot of sense. Then you can hire a consultant, which is actually, I think, one of the most common ways to spend money on fundraising. And many organizations think of it as a shortcut because they think if they just hire a consultant, they will fix everything and will be able to write a winning proposal that will solve all their problems. We will talk a little bit about why that is maybe not the best way to spend money on fundraising, and why it might make more sense to actually spend it on your own stuff or on the people you work with. Then there's other tools that make fundraising easier, like management tools for your donor data, for your own donors, other tools that can make it easier for you to prepare proposals, etc. So all those things are tools that will make your work, your life much easier, and that can help you to be more productive. And then, of course, fundraising education for stuff. Fundraising is a field that changes extremely quick. So you have to be up to date all the time. Even if you took a course 2 years ago, not all the information might still be valid, especially in times of Corona where things change so quickly and we're so much moved to the digital world in a very short period of time. So educating staff, being up to date on developments, up to date on calls for proposals, etc., is a very important fundraising investment that an organization can and should make. So back to the question if it makes sense to hire a consultant for fundraising. In general, we get this question a lot because we are a consultancy firm, but we always recommend not to hire a consultant for proposal writing per se, because first of all, the consultant cannot write a proposal all by themselves. They still need support from staff, so you still have to work with them. So it's still a big commitment from your side. So they will not save you all the work because they don't know the project the way you do, etc. And then also consultants, they come in, do something, and leave, and you don't necessarily learn from them if you don't have the time to spend 24 hours with them, or work very closely with them. So the capacity does not stay within your organization. But you or other fundraisers in your organization, staff members, project staff, etc., you stay with the organization. So if you invest the same amount of money that you would have paid for a consultant and learn fundraising, learn these techniques yourself, then you can use them over and over. And you are able to really fill the proposal with life and facts and information and stories because you know the project that you work in. You are the expert. Your staff is the expert. And so it's always better to try to build fundraising capacity within your organization. So what we recommend when people ask us for support is training, capacity development of staff to then be able to write your own proposal. Because this way you will be able to do it again next year and to adapt it to different donors, etc. You will know the ropes, and that will be extremely helpful. You can, of course, hire a consultant for specific tasks within the fundraising process. For example, donor research. This is something that you should learn, that you should be able to do, but it's also time consuming. So if you know how it's done in general, but you also realize that you don't have a week, 2 weeks, a month to do a really thorough prospect research, then you can always hire a consultant and to outsource these specific tasks. But it shouldn't be the entire process, and you should always make sure that the knowledge is also found within your organization. You can also hire people for proofreading, etc., those last steps, formatting, design, all those things. They are easily they are tasks that can easily be done from the outside. But never forget to also think about yourself, think about your organization and the capacity that you want to create within your organization itself. So we've talked about the things that the board or seniors or other members maybe of your organization think are not so good about investing in fundraising, the reasons why they might be hesitant. So is there anything you can do to actually convince your board to invest in fundraising? I think there are a couple of things that you can do and arguments that you can take and talk to them about. And we will go into more detail about each one of them after on the next slides. But in general, you just have to start pointing out the benefits of fundraising and the benefits of your own skill development to them. So of course this is based on a relationship of trust with the board, with seniors, etc. You have to think about a good way to approach them, a good way to introduce this concept to them. But in general, if you have a good relationship, if you're able to communicate with them, the following arguments should really help you to convince them. It's a little bit of a paradigm shift because, like I said, many board members, many seniors are at the moment just focused on saving wherever they can to be able to continue the project. But like in business, and I think we also have to look to the business side because if we want our organizations to survive, if we want to get through this crisis and the the situation concerning corona is a crisis, of course, worldwide crisis. We have to look to the business side, and sometimes even though the situation is difficult, it makes sense to invest a little at least to get out of it and to become better and to be better able to deal with the situation at hand. So think of ways you can approach your board, if it's by email, if you can make a phone call, maybe you can have a coffee meeting with them and try to present the investment that you want to make, try to present the payment that you want to make to whichever service is useful for you as something that is just of benefit to them. And now we will talk a little bit about the specific things that you can tell them and the specific arguments for it. So we've talked about return on investment before, but studies have shown that there are few things that give a better return on investment than investing in fundraising. Because when you invest in fundraising, when you streamline the process, when you invest in education or in tools that help you to be more successful, to be able to tailor your proposal more towards the donor's needs, etc., you will become more productive, more successful, and you immediately will attract funding. So if you're successful, then there will be a grant, and this grant is a huge return on investment. Just imagine if you, for example, if you have an opportunity that presents itself from USAID and you don't really know how to go about it. And for example, we have an online course that is specifically about fundraising from USAID, where Eric, our CEO, he shares with you all the knowledge that he acquired through years and years of working with USAID. So with this course, that of course is an investment because you have to pay for the course, you will know how to tailor your proposal towards USAID's needs. Still, there's no guarantee that you will get the grant, but with that insider knowledge, your chances are much, much higher. And then if you get the grant, you immediately raised your organization up quite a bit. So this is a very good argument you can use when you try to convince your board, your seniors, to actually give you that small funding, because you will be able to attract much more funding in the long run if they support you, and if they let you educate yourself, and if they let you find out the facts and the details about all these things. So there have been studies that say that the return on investment can be 20 to 30% at an annual rate. So that is amazing, and that's a very, very high amount. It can actually be, in individual cases, it can be much bigger if the investment in fundraising in the beginning is smaller. So just to stay with the example, if we're staying with our courses, they are relatively inexpensive. So our most expensive course is $300. So of course $300 is a lot of money, but at the same time, if that helps you to attract a grant of $100,000, then that is not a very big investment. So when you talk to your board, when you talk to the people that decide, you have to clearly draw that connection, that if you are able to learn the things that you need to be more effective in fundraising, you will directly be able to attract more funding, and it will directly translate into a financial benefit for your organization. And the better you can make that connection, the easier it's going to be for you to sell your demand. So for example, if you're applying for USAID and you want to take a course on USAID, that's a very clear connection. We also offer a course on European Commission funding, and the European Commission just set their newest budget. So there's a lot of calls from the European Commission going to come in the coming months. So if you're planning to apply for any of that, it's a great idea to pitch to your board now to take that course, because it will prepare you to be able to be much more successful with those kinds of calls. Then there's the second argument that I talked about in the beginning, that many organizations think if they give their staff members the opportunity to educate themselves, they will just take all the opportunities and then leave the organization because they have a better CV now and they have better references, etc. But it is actually also not necessarily true, because normally people leave a position, and it is true that the turnover in this sector is very high. But in general, people leave a position when they're unhappy. They don't necessarily always just leave when something different presents itself, but they need a reason. And being unhappy, feeling like they're not challenged, feeling like they're not supported, and feeling like nothing is moving, feeling like in a dead end, is not going to make your employees or the employees of your organization feel happy and supported. So that is one of the reasons why people leave. And I actually think, of course, there's always a risk. If you give intense training to staff, there's always a risk that after that something better presents itself and someone might leave. But I think that's a risk that is worth taking, because maybe 5 other people will become much more loyal and will actually do their work in a much better way, will be much more effective. So that really counteracts the effect of a couple of people or one person leaving. So of course there is a risk, but in general you can say that support and the opportunity to grow and the opportunity to learn are qualities of a good employee. And if you have a good employee, you're going to do better work, and that's ultimately what people want. If you have something specific that is maybe a little bit more costly that you want to pitch to your board, that maybe a course that over 6 months, a year, study, whatever, you can always offer and be proactive and say, look, you might be scared if you help me with this that I would leave, but I'm willing to commit to 2 more years here. I'm willing to sign a contract. I'm willing to put this in a document that I will stay after this, whatever, so that your board and your employee has some more security that you will actually use the knowledge that you gain through your further education or whatever it is to be beneficial to this organization who paid for it or who supported you through it. But it is something that you can approach proactively. You don't have to guess if that is what they might be thinking, but you could just openly ask them and say, is maybe the reason that you don't want me to want to support me in this, that you're scared I would leave after this, so then I can offer you to actually sign a longer contract or whatever the means might be. Then there's another argument that is actually going to really boost your case with your board, and that is that it will make your sustainability plan much stronger. The sustainability plan is a section in the proposals that you always have to fill out. It's normally at the end, and it talks about how the project will be sustained after the donor's support fades. And it's a very important section, and I think it is a section that many organizations still neglect. And if you have a very good sustainability plan or very good ideas about the project sustainability, then you can still really shine, and you can really distinguish yourself in your proposal from the rest. So this is something that your board will also want, because they know that sustainability and project sustainability is very important. So if you educate your own staff, or if you educate staff in project offices, in the field, etc., in fundraising, you really contribute towards your financial sustainability and the organizational sustainability. Because that means that staff members will be able in the long run to support the project, so that if the donor gives one grant and then doesn't want to give another grant, that they are able themselves to create more funding, to find funding in other sources, to apply for other grants, etc. So this is an argument that you can actually put into this section of any new proposal as well, because capacity development, supporting people on the ground to help themselves, to support themselves, is something that many donors really want. So this is actually going to be a plus in your next proposal. And you can also tell this to the people that have to decide about this. Specifically, if you want to include some budget for staff education in your next proposal. And it will also show the donors that you want to be a reliable partner in the long term. Because if you apply somewhere and the donors realize that you've worked with a consultant and nobody at your organization can really fundraise very well, then they will maybe think to themselves, if I give them the grant and the money runs out, what are they going to do? They're not going to be able to secure more funding. But if you can show that X employees in your organization are certified, and you're doing staff training all the time to teach everybody fundraising, project management, all these skills that are needed, then the donors will see you as reliable partners, and they will realize that you are really there for the long run, that you will be a partner in the long term, and that they can really trust you to use the money in a good way. And then, in general, you can say if you invest in fundraising, this will raise the level of professionalism in your organization. That will help you with partners and potential donors in the future. So, for example, writing a proposal is important to know, but if you learn that, you also learn writing skills that you can use for report writing, that you can use on your web page, etc. If you learn about donor networking, you learn interpersonal skills. You learn how to network with people in a way that they become interested, how to maybe use storytelling, how to ask questions, how to center the person you're talking with. And these are things that you can not only use in fundraising, but you can use that with all kinds of tasks that you have to do in your organization. If you're a project manager, if you have learned about networking and now you know much better how you can approach someone who is maybe critical, then you can also use that in your project work. Maybe if one of the stakeholders is critical towards your project, then you will have all those skills to deal with that. Fundraising is, of course, something very specific, but at the same time, to be a good fundraiser, you also need many, many human skills that will help you in any section of work, in any part of your work. So your entire workflow, your project planning, everything will become better if you learn a lot about fundraising, if you take that knowledge and actually apply it to other sections of your work as well. So same goes for evaluation, etc. If you learn how to for example, we have a course about log frames, etc. If you take that course, you will be able to design a very good log frame to include in proposals. But of course, you can also take that knowledge and include it in your next evaluation plan for your projects. You can take many of those things that you learn when you learn about fundraising and use it for other areas. The same is for tools. If you have specific tools that you can use for donor research, um, a database, whatever, you can use that for your own donors as well. Maybe you can extend it. You can, if you have tools to organize your workflow in fundraising, you can use the same tools to organize your workflow in project management. And those are things that are very important and actually determine the success of your project work. So don't make it look like these investments in, for example, fundraising education or in specific tools, or also in staff, because if your organization employs someone who's responsible for fundraising, then your project managers don't have to do it anymore. So that means that they can actually focus on their project work again. They can do what they got hired to do, and they can do what they're good at. So if you highlight this in these discussions, in your pitches, that your overall productivity will also grow, and we'll get to that on the next slide as well. That will also help you. So this feeds into this. It will save resources in the long run, because even if you invest now, and if it's maybe a higher investment, maybe you want to employ someone, maybe you want to buy a course, maybe you want to buy some books, access to a database, etc. You will not need consultants in the long term. So maybe the investment right now is a little bit higher, but you will not have to look for consultants to do donor research for you if you have access to a donor database and know how to use it. Then you never have to do that again. Yeah, there's a very high learning effect for project management if you learn the processes of fundraising. So you can always use that knowledge and actually apply it to your project management and make it much more efficient. Same goes for strategy development. If you want to develop a good strategy, this will feed into your fundraising strategy, and the opposite as well. Once you develop a fundraising strategy and learn all the important things that you need to point out there, that you need to look out for, you can use this knowledge and apply it to your project development strategy. Because those are the things that you should look out for, and they have to go together, and each section can learn from the other. And the same, like I said, goes for, there's a high learning effect for reporting and monitoring and evaluation, because those things are also intertwined very, very closely. So now I've talked about this for quite some time. So what could be easy wins? So if you're thinking now, okay, with what could I start with? What could I pitch to my board to see if they're open to investing in fundraising at all? How could I go about? So you could, for example, you could start with online courses that give you skills that you can use in all areas of your work. Like I said, for example, donor networking is something that will help you to also better your social skills at the workplace, within your project, etc. Then there's many online courses with certification that will also help you, because you will get certification, so that will look good on your own resume. But also your employer can say, look, we have these people and they're certified in fundraising, so we will actually be able to sustain our project, and this is something that they can include in their sustainability plan. And you can pitch something maybe that would even take some pressure off your board. So fundraising is something that is also sometimes outsourced to the board. You ask them for connections, you ask them to go to galas, to events, etc., to represent. And if you can take some pressure off of them, maybe it's something that they would be even more open to consider. So like I said, we're selling online courses as well. So I'm also going to make a small pitch in this course, because, like I said, this topic that I talked about now, we thought it's important to talk about this because we see so many times that staff members, fundraisers, project managers come to us and they say, oh, we want to learn this and we know that we need to learn this, but we're not getting the funding for this. So we thought to tie up a package that we think is something that you can easily pitch to your seniors, because it's two skills that you always need, that you can also use for any other kind of work that you're doing, and that go very well together. So we have donor networking, and we have this full course about it that covers what is donor networking, why is it important, how can you connect, cold emails, etc. But you see here already, how can you connect with donors? You learn that, but you also learn with that, you learn how can you connect with potential partners, how can you connect with stakeholders, etc. Those are skills that you can easily transfer to other fields as well. Cold emails, very important. If you need anything from anybody and you're just trying to contact them without knowing them before, this is a very important skill to know. So normally we sell this course for $79. We have a course on donor research as well, and all these research methods can be used for other sections as well. So there you would learn what is donor research, why do you need it, why is it important, best ways to do so, and organize your donor research. And again, all these tools, all these techniques can be used for any other area of your work as well. Specifically the parts where we talk about organizing your stuff, workflow, etc. So usually these two courses together would cost $158, and they're given by Eric. And Eric has more than 20 years of experience in this field. He's a great lecturer. He's worked for different universities, etc. You also get a workbook, cheat sheets, quizzes, all the lectures and videos about these topics. But today we want to, of course, make a deal out of this, so you can go to your board and actually present this and say, look, this is a great deal and this is a great entry point for us, maybe to see if this works and to see what we can use from this. So today we're offering these two courses for only $60. So usually, again, if you go to our homepage, you will see this for $158, but today we want to offer it for you for $60. So please, I think my team is going to post the link in the comments right now. You will also get it in your follow-up email again. But for this week, you can, until Friday, you can get this package actually for $60. And because we really want to make it something special, and we really want to make it easy for you to ask for this and to tell your superiors why this could be useful, we are also adding the concept note resource guide. It's a book about how to write a successful concept note, but again, it teaches writing skills, it teaches how to organize a document, etc. And this concept note resource guide, again, if you go to our webpage, philantropia.org, you will see we sell it for $25, and we will just add it for free. So if you buy the $60 package, you will get this book for free. I will send it to you by email, and you have access. You can download it, and then you can have access to this ebook as well. So you see, we're really tying a really good package for you to see if this is something that you can pitch to your board, because I know this will be very helpful for you personally, and for your entire organization, for the fundraising specifically, but also many of these skills you can just use them for different areas of work. And you can also see here on the slides that we are CFRE certified. So if you take our courses, you can use that for your certification, and each course counts a specific amount of points towards your certification if you aim to get certified by CFRE. But they are a very good provider of fundraising certification. We also have many other courses. I've mentioned a couple of them. Writing a proposal, for example, developing a fundraising strategy, European Commission funding. I've talked about the USAID course. We have a course about humanitarian emergencies, etc. So please go to philantropia.org and just check out our program if you're interested in any of those courses. And because you've joined the webinar, we want to give you another 30% off. So if you use the coupon code PFN users, you get 30% off any of the courses that are on offer on our homepage at the moment. You will also get the code again with the follow-up email, but maybe you can already note it down now. Thank you very much for attending. I hope this was useful for you. I hope you can use a couple of the things that I mentioned to actually talk to your board, maybe to donors, to seniors, etc. And if you want to learn more about fundraising, please check out the rest of our course program at philantropia.org. Please also sign up to our newsletter, because there you will get updates and offers, etc., more information about fundraising and proposal writing in specific. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're already here. You just have to click the subscribe button, and then we will notify you about any other and new webinars, because we do this every second week, sometimes every third week, depending on holidays. So to make sure that you don't miss the next one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. So if you want to connect anywhere, please do so. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can see, you will see I share a lot of stuff about fundraising and proposal writing there as well. So yeah, with this we get to the end of the presentation, and we have some time left for questions. I hope I didn't talk too much again. Okay, so I see we have a couple of questions. So Rose Lama is asking, can you tell us more about the overhead cost? How much can we assign in our budget? That's a difficult question. It depends a lot on your organization and on if you're applying, for example, for a grant, on the donor, because every donor has different rules for that. I've seen a couple of times it's 20%. I think I've seen one time 30%, which is very high. Sometimes it says 15%. If you can, try to find that information in the guidelines, because if they tell you, of course you have to do exactly what they tell you. So if they give that information, already do so. Otherwise, maybe you can look at other proposals. Maybe you can directly ask them which percentage you should include for overhead. Don't make it too high, but again, personally, when I look for organizations to donate to, sometimes around Christmas, whatever, I want to give a donation myself. When an organization says we have 5% overhead, then I personally get very suspicious, because I know that that's impossible. With 5% overhead, you're either hiding your overhead cost somewhere else, or you're not doing good work. Because you need, if you have a certain size, you need an office, you need an accountant, you need people who do the support work, because not everything is project work. You kind of need the background for that as well. So don't make it too low. Try to find a good number. I think many papers recommend 15%. I would say it depends a little bit on the organization, on the country, on the situation. 15 to 20 maybe, that ballpark. But again, it depends, and every donor also has their own rules. If you have any more questions, you can just type them in the box. But sometimes I also have some issues with the comments, so I hope I can see all of them. Until now, I just saw that question. Yeah, but thank you very much for joining today, and I hope you will join us again. Guys, I don't see any more questions, so I think we can wrap up. I've already talked a lot as well. Thank you very much for joining us for this webinar. Please join us again for the next one. We haven't determined the topic yet, so you can still give us some suggestions if you have a topic that you would like me to talk about. You can just write us an email or comment here, and maybe we can use that recommendation and actually make our next webinar about that topic. Thank you again. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and to check out our courses. We will send out that special offer again. It's valid until Friday, so I hope some of you can actually take it. Thank you very much, and all the best. Stay healthy, and see you next time.